Hi, I'm Liz. Thank you for joining me. Today, I'm going to take you through a short Yin Yoga practice. If you've done some of my videos before, a lot of them are quite dynamic. You might think of like a vinyasa flow with the yoga videos that I've previously done. Yin, however, is one of my favorite practices to teach, so I would like to share that with you, but within keeping them short as well. So great videos to do if you are short on time but you still want to get something in for the day, usually around kind of the 30 to 40 minute mark. If you were to do a Yin Yoga practice in a studio, you might go for about 75 or 90 minutes, just depending on the class. We're going to try and keep it just a little bit shorter today. With Yin Yoga, we hold our shapes for a period of time, so usually longer than what you would do in a vinyasa flow, where you're using your body, you're using the muscles, you're using the joints to sometimes shift quite fast between different shapes. It's usually quite dynamic and usually got some kind of flow to it. With our Yin practice, majority of the poses are done seated. There is one standing pose that I know of, and we hold those poses for around 5, you might even go for 20 minutes depending on the time that you've got, depending on the class. And the idea is to relax as much as you can into those shapes. So quite passive, it's a passive practice where we want to let the body, we let the joints, we let the muscles, we let the connective tissue start to relax, and it really does focus on the connective tissue of the body. The reason we hold for time is because it takes a little bit longer to have an effect on that tissue. So the Yin Yoga has a Chinese background to it, where we work through, or we can target and focus on meridian lines. And they are energetic lines, or you can think of them as energetic rivers that run through the body. And each line will correlate with an organ, and then each line also has a pair. So there is a yin and there's a yang. We're not going to focus too much on those today. So an example is we've got a kidney line and we have a urinary bladder line, and we have a liver line and a gallbladder line, or channel, liver meridian channel and a gallbladder meridian channel. Those two are a pair. So you can think of the liver is the yin line, so think about what's coming into your system. It comes up the body. And then the gallbladder is the yang. So you think about, it comes down the body, think about what's going out of the body. So the yin and the yang working together. And each shape, we can start to target specific meridian lines. And because they are throughout the body, either running up through the inner or the outer leg, or up through the inner part of our torso, or down the outside, each shape is going to target usually all of the meridian lines, but we can specifically target certain meridian lines with shapes and bring a focus to that. So again, today, just going to be a little introduction for you. You may have been practicing Yin for years, or maybe this is your first experience of Yin. So just keeping it really nice and simple. The one thing I really love about Yin is it allows you to really stop and focus and actually come into your body. So have a really good awareness of a body, or start to build a really good awareness with your body. Focusing on the breath, the most important thing, and then starting to focus on sensations that you may be feeling within certain shapes. So we're going to get into it. So finding a comfortable seat. Also, you can use lots of props for this practice. So either bolsters, cushions, if you've got yoga blocks, blankets. Make sure you've got lots of that around you if you need to, or if you want to. And then finding a comfortable seat, finding a length in the spine. If it feels comfortable, closing the eyes down. If not, coming into a soft gaze. And just starting to bring some awareness into your breath. And just for the moment, just paying attention to it, just seeing where it's at today. Just observing the breath. And starting now to breathe with a little more intention, a little more focus, breathing in through the nose and out of the mouth. In through the nose, out of the mouth. One more time, in through the nose, out of the mouth, and breathing in and out of your nose. And while you're focusing on the breath, just take a little moment scanning through the body, just seeing if there's any areas that you may feel a little bit of tension, may feel tight, maybe through the shoulders, chest, you might feel it through the hips, may even feel like the muscles around the eyes are squinting up. Take a little moment taking that scan or making that scan. Maybe you roll the shoulders up, back and down a couple of times. Just seeing if there's any areas that you can start to let relax a little more, and we'll focus on this as well as we move through our shapes. And really important that when you do come into the shape or any shape throughout the yin practice, if there's any kind of risky pain where it feels like a burning sensation, or you may feel like the joint, there's pain in the joint, make your way out of the shape. So with our yin practice, we are looking for sensation in the body when we come into the shapes, but we're not necessarily looking for so much discomfort that we can't relax into it. So there may be a little bit of discomfort with the tension that starts to happen through the tissue as we hold shapes, but we don't want it to the point where it's going to cause damage. So again, this is why I love this practice. It kind of gets you to know where your edge is, how far you can go, and allows you to kind of dance with that little bit of discomfort, which I think is really important for life in general. It's okay, it's good to get a little bit uncomfortable. It's how we kind of get stronger, how we grow and evolve. Staying connected into your breath, I'm going to come into our first shape, which is butterfly. Now you may need to stay sitting on something like a bolster, a cushion, or a folded up blanket, and that just allows the pelvis to, you might sort of be sitting like this, and you can see I'm quite rounded through the spine there. So we want to come so the pelvis is in a bit more of a kind of anterior, or a bit more of a neutral position really, like we're sitting up nice and tall, so we can find that length through the spine. Bottoms of the feet come together, knees drop out to the side. You may feel like you need some support underneath the knees, and that just gives it that little bit of extra support there. Otherwise, just letting them drop out to the side. Aria's out, she's gone to the couch. Now you may stay here, you may be feeling some sensation around the hip area, maybe even through the lower back area. If so, feel free to stay. Option is to fold it forward. So we use the breath, breathing in, lengthen through the spine. Breathing out, folding the upper body forward. Just as far as feels okay for you. So you may be able to just let everything hang, let the head drop down, let the shoulders drop. Can also feel nice to bring a bolster or a cushion in front of you. You can roll down towards that bolster, or even a yoga block or a couple of yoga blocks, and you can rest the forehead down to the block. So taking your time, finding a position that you know you can stay in for some time. Don't be afraid to make little shifts, make little adjustments. If you feel like you need to shift around and move, then move. And then ultimately we want to find a spot that we can just stay in for a little bit of time. We can breathe nice and smoothly. You can start to let the body relax. So if you are folded all the way forward and it feels okay, let the head drop down. See if you can start to relax the muscles around the hips. While you're focusing on the breath, starting to pay attention to where you feel sensation in your body. I can't tell you where you feel this. I know for me, I definitely feel it through my hip area, feel it all the way along the spine, even feel it through the front of the hips as we've closed that gap. Just gently scanning your body. A really good practice of coming back, so coming back into the here and the now. So the mind will want to wander, and that's okay. It's just what it naturally will do. When you notice that, just allow yourself to come back. You don't have to beat yourself up about it. Just acknowledge it. Let the thought go, whatever it is. And then bring yourself back to the breath. Bring yourself back into the sensations that you are feeling. I'm going to give you some time here in silence, just to really focus on what's happening in your body in this shape. Take 3 more breaths. On the next inhale, lightly draw the belly button in, pressing yourself back up. If you were using some props, just gently move them to the side and take any kind of movement or stillness. Take your time coming out of the shape. So we spent a fair bit of time there, so we don't rush our way out. Can sometimes feel nice to reverse that curve through the spine. And maybe you want to move the legs a little bit. So a little bit of windshield wiper from side to side can feel good. You might even take the legs out, give them a little bit of a shake. Just doing whatever feels best for you. So I really like to have that free movement or stillness time between the shapes, just to kind of feel what's happening as well. So there's lots happening as we hold the shapes, lots of sensation, maybe. And then there's lots happening as we start to bring movement back into the body. So you might also feel some energy or sensation moving through your system. And just as much as you can, staying focused inward, focusing on the breath. We're going to continue to remind you through that throughout the practice. I just feel like a broken record when I say it, but it's really important to keep that focus. Good. We're going to come into our next shape, which is called Dragon. It's one of my favorite but least favorite shapes. So to come into that, we're going to come onto the hands and knees. And I'm just going to take my socks off just in case I get a bit slippery on the floor. So you're going to bring your right foot around the outside of your right hand. And I'm just going to go from the side with this one. Now, you might be like, oh, that is enough sensation through the front of the left hip there. You might be feeling that a lot around the outside of the right hip. If you want a little bit more, you're going to start to shift the left knee back until you feel something in this hip here, in the back hip. Now, this is a passive practice, but there's certain shapes where we need to use a little bit of strength to keep us supported and just to stop us from dumping down into things like our neck and our shoulders. So your hands or your upper body is going to stay active by pressing the palms down into the floor, lifting the chest tall, and just take a little check-in with your neck. Make sure you can kind of turn it from side to side, and a slight little tuck of the chin here so we're nice and lengthened through the spine. If you need to, you can come up to the fists, or even using 2 blocks. If you don't have blocks, grab some books or something, and you can give yourself that little bit of extra lift. Just making sure you're not dumping into your shoulders and neck. So just finding what works best for you. Front foot, you can kind of, or press that front leg into the front arm or the right arm, I should say. Find that connection to the breath. And you may have already figured out why it's my favorite but least favorite position. It never gets easy. Take that time. Connecting into your breathing, breathing in and out of the nose. Find that connection into the body. So you might do that little scan, maybe working your way, just checking in, making sure you're lifting tall through the chest. Make sure you're using that strength from the upper body. A little bit of yang. Make your way all the way down the spine into the hip area. And this is the area where we want to start to see if we can let that relax. So imagine you're kind of lowering the hips down towards the floor. Remembering that we're not going for, oh my God, I can't handle this. We're just looking for that little bit of sensation. And it may be uncomfortable. I know right now it's not feeling super comfortable for me in the front of that left hip. I do have a fair bit of hip flexor tightness happening at the moment. But we can learn to sit with that discomfort by breathing, by knowing that we won't be here forever. Of course, we do have that choice. We can always move out of the position if we want to. Maybe you need to back out just a little bit. Or maybe you think, I can actually hold this, I can actually take it deeper. We're just working with where you're at today. And give you that little bit of space, that little bit of silence, just to focus and feel what's happening within your body. Take 3 more breaths. Using the inhale, slowly press yourself back. When I teach Yin Yoga at the studio I teach at, it's kind of funny hearing everyone come out of this and go, whoa. It's usually quite strong feelings there through the front of the hip. And just taking whatever you feel you need to do. It sounds weird, but it can feel nice to come into plank position from here. Maybe it's a downward facing dog, a child's pose. Just whatever you feel you need to do. May just be just taking a seat, coming into some stillness. So we generally hold a lot of tension, a lot of stress through the hip area. We're also usually sitting for longer than we're meant to do. So it can build up that tension, especially through the front of the hips. And I've got some really good news. What we do to one side, we must do to the next. So it's either gonna feel even better, might feel a little bit more uncomfortable, but remembering it is sensation, it is just sensation. So let's get into it. Bring your left foot around the outside of your left hand. And then shifting the right knee back until you feel something happening through the front of the right hip. Just going to shift forward a little bit. My foot's connecting into the wall there. Do that little check if you needed the blocks or something supporting you underneath your hands on the other side. Make sure you've got that there for this side. Make sure you're pressing down into the palms to lift the chest. And then taking that little scan through the body as you focus on the breath. Making sure the spine is long. Starting to let the hips sink down towards the ground. Or imagine they're sinking down towards the ground. Now, if there's lots of sensation, it's really easy and the mind will want to react to that and go, oh, I don't like this. This is so uncomfortable. We need to get out of this. If it's not risky pain though, we can override that with our breath and our mind, reminding yourself that it is okay. It is just sensation. May be uncomfortable, but we are not here for a very long time. By going through this little bit of discomfort, we're bringing in fresh new energy into our system, into that area, allowing that area to strengthen, allowing the area to release tension. Super, super cool. And just taking that time now, seeing if you can keep the focus on the breathing, keep the focus in the body. Just every time you notice the mind wander, bringing it back. Take 3 more breaths. And using that next inhale, slowly press it back. Whew. And just doing whatever you feel you need. The body will often tell you it is always communicating with you. This is another reason why I love this practice. Kind of get that time, we get that space to learn to listen to the body. Sounds a little bit woo-woo, but our bodies are pretty damn amazing. They will always let us know what's happening, and we can learn to work with it. So you're going to come over onto your back. You're going to use, or you're going to need some kind of prop for this next or our last shape, or before we go into our resting pose. Either a yoga block, a book, like a thick type book, a yoga, or not a yoga bolster, but a bolster, or even a cushion or a pillow will work for this shape. So coming onto your back first, just have the prop next to you. Just take a little moment, hug the knees in towards your chest. So we're going to come into our last shape, which is supported bridge. So lots more shapes in our yin practice. I usually do about 6 shapes within a yoga class, but just kind of taking you through just a little just experience of one. Usually hold them for a little bit longer as well. So supported bridge, bringing your feet down to the floor. So you're going to take the support, lift the hips off the mat, so like you're coming into a bridge position, and then the support is going to come underneath your hips. So you kind of got your lower back, and then it turns into the pelvis, and you got that kind of flat bony triangle shape down the bottom, which is our sacrum. We're resting that onto the support, so whatever it is, the cushion, the block, the book. Don't recommend using a dog. They might not like that. And just wriggle around, you'll find the spot where you can kind of just let go into that. Now that might be creating some sensation through the lower back region, just lying here like this. That may be more than enough for you today. So breathing in and out of the nose. Letting the shoulders, bring them down away from the ears. If you feel like you want to take it deeper, you can start to lengthen your legs out. And then take the arms overhead. May notice if you did take those options, might increase the sensation either through that lower back area. You might even feel that through the front of your hips all the way up into your abdomen. Again, just paying attention to where you feel it. Just making that little check-in if it's risky pain or it is sensation that you know you can sit with. And then this is it. This is your yin practice. Focusing on the breath, seeing if you can relax as much as you can. So starting to let go bit by bit over the support, knowing you've got the ground beneath you. So we often hold a lot of tension in the body. We're often rushing from thing to thing. Our mind is usually pinging from thought to thought. A really good practice to allow yourself to stop for a moment, to slow down and let go. Taking these last few moments in silence, I'll let you baste in the shape. take 3 more breaths. The legs are straight. Just slowly, one by one, bring the feet back to the floor. Bring the arms back down by your side. And just make your way off the support. Come all the way down to your back. Take any movement. You might want to roll the knees in towards the chest. Take a little roll around on the spine. Take any last movements that you need, and we're going to make our way into our final resting position. It can feel really nice to bring some support underneath your knees for this shape. So the most important shape of our practice. So let the practice integrate into our system. So if you know you need support under the knees, adding that. Letting the body rest down into the mat, knowing that there is no need now to focus on your breath. That will happen naturally. You can stay here for as long as you need. If you would like to stay longer, you can pause the video, usually with what we would ultimately want with our resting pose is to come out just when you're ready. And again, your body will let you know. You'll start to fidget and kind of come back into some awareness of where you are. Sometimes though, time does not allow that. Just wriggling your fingers, wriggling your toes if you feel ready. If you've got the time though, let yourself rest. Start to add some movement into the body. Maybe you yawn and stretch. And then coming back to a seated position. Closing the eyes down. Thank you for joining me. Thank yourself for making the time to be here. Taking the time to slow down for a moment and connect into yourself. Namaste. Have a beautiful day or evening wherever you are. And I'll see you